Welcome to Stay a While, the podcast that's virtual soul food for your ears. I am your host, Tommi Vincent, and each week we break bread with bold, passionate women who have faced the impossible and are still standing to share their testimonies. Make yourself at home and stay a while. Everyone, I am so excited to have today's guest joining us at the Stay a While table. We have joining us Precious L. Williams. Precious is the CEO of Perfect Pitch Group. Perfect Pitch Group helps clients transform their pitches from ineffective to highly successful, converting conversations into currency. You can make money, you can generate resources by the words coming out of your mouth. We are so excited to have you joining us today, Precious. But before we begin, let me just share a couple of your highlights. You are a 13-time national elevator pitch champion, 5-time number one best-selling author, and you have successfully appeared on Shark Tank Season 8. Now, that's just a few of your highlights. We know you've done much more than that, and I'm sure we will get into that in this conversation. But you are here today because you blew me away at the Spectrum Circle Awards when you were receiving the Business Innovation Award. And I said, you know what? We have to get this woman to the table because your story was phenomenal. The journey, the process, and all of the grit that it took and the strength for you to be where you are today is amazing. And so, can you just take some time to share with us today who is Precious L. Williams?
Outside of business, who is Precious Williams? I am a fighter. I'm a warrior. I'm determined and I'm bold. I am also someone that no one saw coming. I'm black on both sides, no Brazilian butt lift, no six-pack abs. Unwanted child abused, abandoned, tortured, anything you could think that could happen to a child has definitely happened to me. And yet I'm still here. Almost murdered, sold for drugs, and told my very existence makes people angry. And even though all those things were said to me growing up, that I just never quite fit in. I am so happy I chose me. I'm so happy I'm my biggest cheerleader. Like Beyonce, I don't gamble, but if I'm gonna bet on anybody, I'm gonna bet on myself. Because I bet on myself. Every limitation that others put before me had no effect on me. I don't have an Ivy League degree, but I've definitely taught at Ivy League institutions. I don't have a tech degree, but I've definitely taught at some of the biggest, I've definitely trained some of the biggest sales teams of companies around the world. Beyond all that, I'm a full-figure diva, plus-size fashionista, fun gal about town. I'm a woman's woman. I'm a trainer and I'm a teacher. I am my grandmother's child. I am an inspiration and a walking miracle. I am Precious Williams with all my tiger stripes, with my fine lines. I've earned everything that I have. And just like Bret the Hitman Hart, I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there'll ever be. Period.
Precious is a bad girl, y'all.
I mean, try.
But listen, you said you chose you.
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen for you? Because you've experienced a lot. When did the light come on where you saw yourself and you chose you?
I actually feel, Queen, that I've had to choose myself multiple times over the years. 5 years old, I just knew I'd have billboards in Times Square. Never seen New York. Never flew there until I actually got there in my 20s. I knew I'd write the great American novel. And I would look around in the hood and just be like, yeah. But I saw it. It's like my Heavenly Father gave me that vision. It's going to happen. When my mother was standing over me, trying to murder me, I chose to live and walk naked 2 hours to my aunt's house because I wasn't dead yet. I chose me when I wanted to go to college, and I saw Spelman on Oprah. Never knew the school, never heard of it before, but knew that's where I was going. Even when everybody else told me, you'll never get in. You're the smartest of the dumb here in St. Louis. You're in a hood school. You can't compete. Where did they get a load of me? And I got in. All the schools I've ever attended, to the clients that I have, the customers that I have. I also had to choose me when I was homeless, right after Shark Tank. I had to choose me when the love of my life died. I had to choose me when I decided to restart my company and everybody said it was over. I had to choose me, and God had to choose me when I tried to take my life on my 30th birthday. And I had to choose me each and every day because there are people coming up behind us, or there are women who are my age who need to know it ain't over. Our experience has to count for something. These fine lines, these laugh lines, these stretch marks, and these tiger strikes. I still choose me, and I show up so differently today than I did way back when. I have the confidence today. I've earned the right to be precious. And whether, yes, I'm disabled or differently able. Yes, I am chocolate and unambiguous. Yes, I am one of the greatest speakers to have ever walked the face of this earth. And I'm saying that knowing that that was told to me when I was 16 years old. And it just took time to catch up with me. So I choose myself every day for everything that I am blessed to do. I choose myself because I want other women, especially women my age, older or younger, choose yourself regardless. There's a purpose on your life, and you may not see it until you get older, and you're going to see all the dots connecting. I was supposed to be having all these things happen so I can speak with compassion. I can speak to those who feel forgotten and abandoned and giving up on themselves. It ain't over, baby. It's just began. And you got to choose you every day.
I could not agree more in regards to the necessity to choose yourself. I say that faith plus action equals results.
Come on
And
now.
so while you're believing, because in order for you to choose yourself, you had to believe I'm more than my circumstances. I'm more than what's happening to me. I'm more than what people are saying about me. How did you take your belief in yourself to choose you and move to the space of action so you could actually do and receive and become what you are today?
Belief is not enough. I had to go out there each and every day to prove I'm the best at what I do, no matter what the circumstances said, no matter who was more popular, no matter whose name was on everybody's tongue. I knew that there was something in me that people hadn't seen before. And I'd be honest, I did a lot of code switch. I did everything that we were kind of told growing up. You have to be like this in this environment, this in that environment. It wasn't until after I was actually homeless for 2 years that I started to understand that I was not built for the reason that we are often told to fit in these boxes. I was never meant to fit in a box. That's why it never really fit me. And so when I decided to heed my creator's call, I created you. I knit you in your mother's womb. I want you to be all that I asked you to be. You lost everything because you got caught up in what the world says and how you're supposed to be. And it nearly took your life. Follow me. So your voice, use it. That personality you've been hiding from people, bring it out. You think that certain people or certain companies are going to love it, they're going to love it. And I didn't know that would happen. But the minute I unleashed, when I restarted my company, I said, I got to be fully me. No code switching, no nothing. And it took action to do it. You can say everything in your mind, but I had to get out there and show it. And when I tell you the difference in customers and clients, the difference between friends and associates and those you got to just let go because they're not going to this elevation place with you. And understanding that if you find yourself in these different environments, you're there for a reason. This isn't given to you. You've earned the right to be there. So pay attention to how other people move. Are they handing out business cards? Are they? No. If you're in certain spaces, you belong. So act accordingly. So the action to get into great spaces took me divorcing my mind of the things that I was taught growing up that did not serve me, and being the rebel that I am, and knowing that as many speakers and as many trainers there are out there, I'm world class. And I taught myself since I was 16. I never sat in people's programs to become Precious Williams. And I don't teach my clients and customers to be a version of me. I teach them to be the best version of them. And I'm going to hear things that they say that they think are irrelevant, but are very thing that will pull people to them. Mm-hmm. And being the killer pitch master, slaying all competition. The greatest competition is me, always. Not what the world says is most popular. If you're known by the right people, popularity means nothing.
So I want to bring two things together in this conversation. So when you were telling us who you are, you mentioned about how after Shark Tank, you were homeless. And then you just mentioned in regards to resetting your company, restarting your company, mm-hmm. which spoke to me about resetting. And at any given time, we have the ability, we are authorized, we have the power to reset.
Yes.
And to reestablish a thing or do something new.
Yes.
Where did the courage come from where you weren't, beating yourself down because what should have amounted to success turned out into something different? And then you said, but you know what? I know I could do it. So I'm going to reset and do this thing again and do it right this time. Where'd you get that courage from?
Well, every day in the Bowery Mission Women's Center when I was homeless, there were two things I read, and I keep these close to my heart. God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. And God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And there was a calling on my life for a very long time that I didn't quite hear. So I did what the world told me to do. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have electronics. So when you went to bed, he was talking to me and telling me my second chapter is going to be better than my first. The trajectory is going to be different. And I didn't know what that meant. In the program, there was a woman named Jo. She was a staff member. She always told me, hold your head up high. You're Precious Williams. I'm like, my bum was slipping in the ditch. Hold your head up high. You're Precious Williams. So I started holding my head up high. Walking down the street, holding my head up high. Because that was about being worthy. The second thing is when I graduated from the program, the pastor of our church on the Upper East Side wanted me to come live with him, his wife, and their child in their big, beautiful home in Brooklyn that had never been asked of any student. And as I moved into that house, the pastor would always say to me, Pastor James, he would say, you're the only person I know who can make announcements sound better than any sermon. They live for your announcements. You're funny. He said, so you need to be back on stage. You need to be back on stage. And keep hearing that. And I went to events and I introduced myself as a killer pitch master, not some formerly homeless, none of that thing. I had to talk it out loud, who I am, not who I was. Who am I? I'm always the killer pitch master. I'm holding my head up high and I'm showing you the confidence that I may not even possess, but that was that Godfidence. I think Marshawn Evans always talks about that. And the more I talked about who I am, that was action. And I was introducing myself, and it led to paid speaking engagements. After that, I got to restart Perfect Pitches by Precious. And I did. But I actually had clientele because I was meeting women and men in these organizations while I was speaking, and they wanted to hire me. But I had to have a company again. And I'm not going to tell you I didn't have nights where I was afraid. I'm not going to tell you that I was thinking, who am I to think that I can come out of homelessness? And and do this. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called.
Mhm. Mhm.
Restarted. And I took those baby steps. And I got around the right people and the right advisors and the right coaches. And I kept daring to choose myself. Even when the coaches and advisors and I kind of fought about things, I said, I'm precious. You're trying to fit me in the boxes of all these online people. I am not her. I am an international professional speaker. I meet with I connect with audiences, not just people on the screen. I connect in real life, and that is my gift. And I had to choose me and leave certain things. That's action. And to go along with something you said about, the action, persistence and consistency, being persistent and consistent always beats resistance. So you have to keep going against all odds. And then the world and time catches up with you. And that's what I've had to do. And I've taken steps when it was shaky. I've taken steps just trusting and holding on to His unchanging hand. And the second thing that had to happen to Queen is I had to change the narrative on who I am. As great as I am as a killer pitch master, as great as I am training over 420 first place winners in pitch competitions, as great as I am as, helping people prepare for all of that. I wanted to get into Ivy League institutions, top HBCUs, PWIs, because I needed to show career services as a different way to prepare their students for jobs, interviews, and fellowships, because that's through pitching, but in a different way. I want to get into the biggest companies in the world and still be Black on both sides and show them a different way of sales training, which involves pitching and scripting and all those sort of things. And when everyone said that doesn't make sense, I knew it made sense because I'm plot twisting and changing the narrative. Plot twist, flip the script of who you think I am because I'm becoming something else, something greater, and something more. Getting known for pitching is one thing. That is not the only thing I'm great at. Business development, client acquisition skills, sales, all of that. That was a teaser. Pitching was a teaser to unleash all that I'm bringing to the table now.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
all of that had to happen by taking action, by telling people no, and still choosing myself against all these learned professionals. There's a calling on my life, and it has nothing to do with whether y'all co-sign. My birth didn't have to be co-signed by any of these people. He made me,
Mhm.
and He gave me the vision, and I had to move regardless of what anybody else told me.
You know, I used to believe that if people knew the details of my story and, having my daughter when I was 12 and the domestic violence relationship I was in, all the things that had me ashamed of my life and what I had experienced. I used to think that if people knew that, it would keep me out of rooms. It would prevent me from getting a seat at the table. And as I really started to learn of me and value the story and value that there is only one person in the world that is me, and that's me, um, that my disqualifiers, or what I thought were my disqualifiers, were actually my qualifiers.
Come on
They
now.
are the things that make me an expert in the experiences that I have and give me an inside knowledge to some of the greatest challenges that society faces. And so, but I had to own that. I had to really embrace and love all of that and do a service to myself. So when I came to the table, little Tommi wasn't being left outside. That little Tommi was actually sitting in his chair with me. Teenage Tommi, young adult Tommi, all the versions of Tommi were present here in this moment because those are the things that have shaped and molded me into the woman I am today. So I appreciate you really speaking to our ability to use and understand that we're qualified for exactly who God created us to be because of, as a result of what we experience, because life is not happening to us, life is happening for us. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And when you start being ashamed, I'm like, you can run, tell it. I've already probably told it first. So, and I'm the one who lived through it. Every
Mm-hmm.
failure was a blessing because
Mm-hmm.
you fail forward. And one of the greatest things about pitching is every story is not for every audience. Every story is not for every audience. When I stood up to receive the Spectrum Circle Award, and I listened to every queen before me who got her award, and I was just taking it in, I'm winning the innovative woman in small business. Imagine if I had given up at 38 and my life was gone. I would never have lived long enough to hear kings and queens and princesses and princes say to me, thank you. You've inspired me to go after my dream. I would have left with every dream in my heart in that cemetery. Every story is not for every audience, but the audience is there for. You must have them.
Mhm. And that's what I want to talk about because that's very important. Showing up in a room and knowing the conversation to be had so that you're speaking the language of the audience.
Right.
So when you're talking about pitching and you articulated to us how pitching isn't about it shows up in every aspect of your life.
Come on now.
You know,
Yes,
if
it
you're
does.
walking into a room and you have to use your words to introduce yourself, to introduce what you do, if you're wanting to demonstrate you add value, you want to demonstrate your ability to sell a product, whatever it is, you're pitching. And sometimes we don't realize that it's not that we don't have the goods, we don't have the value, but we're using the wrong language. So
Yes.
the people aren't hearing what we're saying. Can you talk to us about etiquette on knowing how to show up and speaking the language in the room so you're pitching accordingly?
Yes. When I tell you that's an amazing question. Amazing. It's kind of like I got a ticket to the very first Tory Burch Embrace Ambition Summit. I was homeless. How did I get that ticket? We're not going to address that issue. And I remember walking into that space. I was looking good. Now, let's be very clear. And I happened to sit next to some queen, Pam. She was she's program manager at Bottomless Closet. And for some reason, they just told me to introduce myself as a killer pitch master. And I was going ham and cheese on it, peanut butter and jelly. And she's like, "Oh wow, oh we'd like to hire you." But I never broke face. So I was just like, "Wow, if she only knew that I'm so scared in this moment." And later on, I did get to speak at Bottomless Closet, and it was so amazing. Standing room only. I hadn't spoken in 2 years. Two. She contacted me the next day and she said, "We want you to speak at Smart and Sexy Day with Viacom." What she didn't know was years ago I used to pitch at BET, MTV, and VH1. So as I walked in for Smart and Sexy Day, and I was speaking to executives and I was speaking to these amazing women, I heard God say to me, "Give it to them raw." So I already finished my presentation. And I said, "You all may be thinking you're donating money to women to have throwaway careers. No one's going to care about them. When I was hired, I was homeless. But I didn't introduce myself as a homeless woman. I introduced myself as who I want you to know me to be. Because I am the killer pitch master. And I'm a 13-time national. I'm going down the list. I said, but I'm also a woman who was homeless, a severe alcoholic after losing the love of my life. I've squandered opportunities that I will never do again. Because I believe in myself and I choose me. And the reason why I'm chosen to be here today is the confidence that came when I spoke. Because I know who I am and whose I am. And when I tell you that their mouths dropped, I said, I am a recipient of your donations. And if I didn't tell you that, you would never have known that. So when you see some of these women in the room, I am her, I am she. She is me. And you are donating and really helping women step up and go back into who they used to be and even greater. So what does that have to do with pitching? What does that have to do with coming into different rooms? That was the first time I trusted God to share my story because I was showing up as precious killer bitch master. The rooms that I walk in today and what I tell to my clients is from the very time you wake up, get yourself dressed, are you wearing the clothes that represent your brand? Are you showing up the way you need to? Have you given yourself a pep talk? Have you been reading things that give you positivity? Because you're going to walk in the room, everybody's going to look, sound, and you feel off. I want you to walk in there strong. I don't need you to actually speak. I need you to sit and observe. Because you start to observe that people with the titles aren't necessarily the most powerful people in the room. And that's part of pitching. It's part of understanding the energy of the room, the flow. Where's energy? Where's all of that? And when you go into conversations, go to listen before introducing yourself. Queen Tommi, I walk into conversations. Oh, this must be the cool kids crew. What y'all talking about? I'm trying to get up in here. They're not expecting me to say that. They're expecting, oh, what do you all do? I don't ask that question. It's irrelevant to me. I want to go in and make them feel good. And so as they're talking, now I'm in the conversation. And eventually they're going to ask me what I do. And I'll give them a light pitch, just something a little light. Because my focus is on making sure they're heard. And if I do play my cards right, they're going to be looking me up. And when they read about me on LinkedIn, because that's where they first go, they're going to be really impressed that I didn't blow them with all the things that I've done. Because that's irrelevant. You're more relevant to me than I am to you. And when you're pitching, the ability to connect is not about how great I am, it's about how great they are. And if they have a challenge or a problem that I know that I can solve, if there's connection now, if you're like, oh shoot, I didn't know she was that dope. Now you're really going to be interested in everything that I do. You're going to sign up for the newsletter. You're going to do this, all sorts of things. You might even want to hire me on the spot. The best thing is be interested in others. Listen and pattern interrupt. I'm not coming to be nice. I'm coming to be like, oh, this what the cool kids at. I'm trying to be down with y'all. What y'all talking about? You're not expecting it. You're disarmed. And now you feel calm. And in the meantime, I'm strategic and paying attention to everything. The last thing I'll say about pitching, yes, you have to make people feel. You have to make people and genuinely be interested in people, what they're talking about, their challenges, whatever. Everybody's not your client, but they can become a referral source and they become a friend who's looking out for you at all times, pitching for profit. But the last thing, the impression you want to leave before you walk out that door. You don't have to speak to everybody. You don't have to speak to most people. But if you carry an air of mystery about you, because they're expecting you to talk, and you don't. You're not talking to everybody. People are drawn to you now like, why is she not talking to me? Let me go talk to her. Totally different mindset that I've learned from a lot of people who are extremely wealthy. So if I go into certain circles, or if I'm invited into certain things, I don't talk about myself. I just sit and observe. And they're watching me, and I know they're watching, and I'm being aloof. Come and talk to me. No business cards are exchanged because there's just no need for that. If I'm in the room, I belong here. And so do you. I'm not asking you for nothing. You're not asking me for nothing. So now a genuine conversation can happen. The higher up the food chain you go.
That is sage advice and insight that you're sharing with everyone. So listen, you giving us gems, so it's up to us to really take that in and apply it to our lives, so we're not just believing something, but we're taking action so we can yield the results. Now, I know you speak all across the globe. You speak at, companies and brands that we're all familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
You also bet on yourself, and you have live events where you have an opportunity to curate the space exactly how you see fit to ensure that the participants coming in are going to receive exactly what they need. And I know with that, there comes a bit of fear. But you have gotten to the place where you recognize fear may be present and you're going to be afraid and do it anyway.
Come on now.
Why is that so important to you?
It is important to feel the fear and do it anyway, do it afraid. I don't know any other way to be. If I felt comfortable in every decision, then I'm not living this life right. Starting a business, starting a company, Starting anything is rough because you're not starting from perfection. It's rough. People are always judging you. You always wonder why celebrities are like, they call it clapping back. I'm like, dude, do you understand what it takes to get here? Do you understand all the
Mm.
no's it takes to get here? Do you know the fear, worry, and doubt that constantly is around me? And I still got to show up because there's someone in the
Mhm.
room who needs me. And they need to see a real representation and not just a Black woman who made it entertainment and sports. You can make it in business and do it. And you don't have to be perfect. And you don't have to look like the Barbie doll. You don't have to do any of those sort of things. But what you do have to do is connect with your audience. You do have to share with them that they are worthy of great things. They are worthy of doing the extraordinary, even living an ordinary life. Without all of that, I'm creating my own community with pitch bold profit gold because I know that we go to all of these business events and then we sometimes go to our personal, the brunches and stuff like that. But there's never really a mixing of both. We have too many great women who are dope entrepreneurs, dope corporate queens, just dope in all aspects of, making money, top of the food chain. And yet the relationship to themselves suffers. They're constantly in comparison with every woman around them. They don't have the greatest relationships with their family. Relationships, whether they are want to date a man or a woman or whoever they want to date. So the personal will be just kind of over here. And business-wise, you are boss status. Wouldn't it be nice if you could pitch bold and profit gold in all aspects of your life, marrying the personal and the professional in a safe environment where we can be freaking for real about this? You don't love yourself. You can be decked out in the most beautiful outfits, but internally you don't love yourself. And it takes a woman who's been there to see it and to talk about it. It takes a woman who's struggling with how does she interact with her family because she's first generation and she made it out. And there's so many pressures on her to be what they want her to be, but they weren't there when she needed them. What if you get your first apartment and you move in by yourself? After homelessness, you're doing it by yourself. And you want to protect your peace. And you want to decorate it the way you finally want to decorate it. And you want to have real friendships that are not based on how much money is in your bank account, but based on love and support and people being there when chips are down or chips are up. So I wanted to create that community that I don't see and not make it be about dollars and cents or I'm dating this rich, wealthy man or woman. I want us to have it all, and it's a process just like business, just like life. It took 45 years to get here. And so soft launching that and then having events all over and being very clear on my vision, but also flexible enough for our vision to manifest together. So I'm very excited about that. Woo! Because I have gotten used to
Sounds like that CEO of me, like me, whatever me entails, business, personal. I'm minding my business because that is the business that makes me go around.
Right. I want that for all of us women, especially those who 40s, 50s, and 60s who feel like the world has forgotten us. I ain't forgot. A lot of us haven't forgot, so let's pour into each other so our next generation of princesses that turn into queens can feel that too. I've often felt alone in my journey.
Mm-hmm. So I love this piece of making sure that it's essentially how I'm hearing it, our ability to really understand that it's about all of you having the ability, the personal aspect. You want to thrive in all areas of your life, and this is a perfect segue into the segment I call food is love, and that's very personal to me. I had a bout of depression, and in the process of working through and going to therapy, I realized that a big part of my healing journey was reflecting back to my grandmother's kitchen and recognizing how food was such a powerful instrument, our ability, this thing that we do in my family of, creating these amazing meals and gathering people at the table. So I went back to school and received my culinary arts degree, and I curate tables where people can come and have conversation, and I can coach them through life around food, providing nourishment for their belly and for their soul. And so I'm going to ask you some food
Go
questions
ahead, Queen. Come
because
at it. Come at it. Let's get it deep. Let's get it.
so I want to know from you, what food best describes your personality and why?
Whew. Mm, I want to say my grandmother's food, but she's been dead 24 years. So let me move on. Thai food. Best describes my personality. Spicy, succulent, mouth-watering, carbohydrates,
And not
protein.
through being succulent.
I mean, just oh my goodness, just a delicious, like
That's
flavorful,
it.
flavorful, right combination.
Mhm.
Sop it up with a biscuit. Come on, now, don't play with me. Thai food.
Name a time in your life when food was healing for you.
When I was 15 years old, my grandparents took me into their home, and that's for 3 years and not knowing where my next meal was coming from. And my grandmother and my granddad sat at the table like leave it to Beaver every day from 15 to 18 and a half. And I had a home cooked meal, breakfast. When I came home from school, dinner was already made, and we just sat and talked. My grandmother's food was healing because it was made with love. And I never questioned where my meals were coming from because everything she made was for me. And even though she had her sons and daughters, she would make some food for them. She always made sure that Precious had something special. So if I didn't eat snoots, she would make little chicken wings that she would marinate overnight and everything. Like, why are you doing it for Precious? That's my golden child. And in every way, I am her gold. I'm my grandparents' golden child. Every meal was made with love for me, and to make sure that whatever this world does to me, here you will always be the golden child. And my food is to nourish your soul and spirit back to health. And that's what they did with love for the 3.5 years before I left for school. So I will always remember that special time. And food was healing.
Does your family have an heirloom recipe that is passed down from generation to generation?
I'm sure it is. It wasn't passed down to me because my grandmother didn't want me cooking and cleaning. She actually had the nerve to tell everyone Precious is going to have people cooking for her, and so I
She
will cook
knew.
for her. So her kids knew how to cook. I didn't. She's like, no, Precious will have people cooking for her. She'll have people cleaning for her. I'm being honest. She was, and I didn't realize how bad that was. We in the hood, and she telling people, no, you have to cook for her because she's gonna have people doing that for her. She's gonna have people working for her.
It's wonderful to have a person, um, that sees you before you see yourself,
And
because
she
that's the
did.
person that they speak to and they call forward to give life. So, what a blessing to have your grandmother, that time with her to really pour into you, to prepare you for this moment right here, this seat that you're sitting in right now.
And it named after her too. Her name was Precious Williams. My name is Precious Williams. Big Precious and
Beautiful.
Little Precious.
So, in this next segment, it's titled I Am Bringing Her to the Table with Me. And this is your opportunity to give flowers, virtual flowers, to another woman.
I am giving, here's two women in my mind right now. I'm giving virtual flowers to my friend Nicole Nixon, who has a data company. I'm bringing flowers to her because she showed up at the Spectrum Awards for me. She showed at Black uh, Commerce for me. She showed up at NABO for me. And she always shows up for me because she only shows up for those who show up for her. And so it doesn't matter what I do. She said, I will always, if I'm the only person, I'm going to be here because no one knows how hard it was for you to come up in this game, or how hard it was for both of us to make a name for ourselves in our respective industries. I'm going to always show up, and I will always show up for her too. And I, as an unwanted child, you just don't know what it's like to have someone who will always show up like grandma did. The second queen I want to give flowers to is Mariama Boney, CEO of Achieve More LLC. She was my retainer client for 3 years, and she achieved every goal and more. And she trusted in me when I was just starting out. And to watch her today command rooms, private associations, and clients. And we're friends now. We don't have a client relationship. We're friends. And she shows up for me too. And she showed up at Novel for me. And even though I didn't win, and Nicole and Mariama were right there, holding my hand, because they said, you've already won. The sponsors want to work with you. So I want to give those two my flowers and just say thank you from the bottom of my heart when times was tough. We held each other's hands to get to where we are today. And I'm eternally grateful to give y'all these flowers in today as we're all succeeding and elevating and separating from all things holding us back and letting go of the weight of the world's expectations and living up to the expectations that God has placed on us. So thank you both.
You just confirmed what you said at the top of the conversation when you said that you are a woman's woman. And I delight in engaging with women who desire to see other women win and who recognize there's enough room for all of us to shine. So us coming together is added value. We
Yes.
we make the room brighter when we work together and we move together and celebrate each other. And so that was so beautiful. Thank you for really being thoughtful about your flower giving and recognizing that we don't do this thing by ourselves. It takes, other queens coming alongside of us, sometimes behind us, pushing us a little bit, saying, come on, girl, you could do this, or in front of us, pulling us along, like, no, you got to keep going. And so thank you so much for that. Before we end our conversation, I want to ask you, is there anything that we have not talked about that you would like to share with our community?
Yes, yes, yes. You all, I am a 5-time #1 best-selling author. My first book, Bad Bees and Power Pitches for Women Entrepreneurs and Speakers Only, was my first billboard in Times Square. It might not
Mhm.
be the great American novel, but it's a #1 bestseller that Forbes magazine reviewed after homelessness.
Mm.
So when I tell you take action, it matters. And when people say no one would buy this book, imagine to their surprise and mine, debuting at #1, Billboard in Times Square, and Forbes magazine reviewing this, saying, pitching this bitch, and no, I did not pay for the review at all. At all. And then having 5 books written in 4 years, 2 reviewed by Forbes magazine, 3 billboards in Times Square with my books. It took action, persistence, and consistency. Being consistent. And with a title like Bad Bitches and Power Pitches for Women Entrepreneurs and Speakers Only, the title alone was a pitch to make you feel something. And it did its job. So being a 5-time #1 best-selling author after homelessness, having the biggest clients in the world choose you, not during Black History Month and Women's History Month all year long. Yeah, I said what I said. Mm-hmm. Taking that action, imperfect action is still action. Progress is still progress. And the no's eventually turn into yes when they see that you kept going, regardless to whether they supported you or not. The final thing I'll say to you all is my contact information. I
Mhm.
am Precious Williams, proud founder and CEO of the Perfect Pitch Group. Our website is www.perfectpitchgroup.com. You can check out our events. You can check out where I'm speaking next. You can check out what's going on next. You can sign up for our free newsletter, or you can also sign up for a free gift from me. So you go to www.perfectpitchgroup.com/free-gifts and get the first chapter of my fifth number one best-selling book, Rainmaking 101 from Day One, Packaging, Positioning, and Pitching Exposed. And you'll also get Make It Rain Like Snow on Your Business. Because what? I'm a rainmaker. Hashtag ultimate rainmaker. And on LinkedIn, I'm Precious L. Williams. And we have our own separate page, Perfect Pitch Group. On Instagram, at Perfect Pitch Group. And on Facebook, I am Precious Killer Pitchmaster Williams. And our own separate page, Perfect Pitch Group. So please reach out to us at the Perfect Pitch Group. If you would like to hire me to speak and to train, go to our contact page on my website. If you would like to check out our services, our one-on-one services, our training programs, licensed products and everything, check us out, www.perfectpitchgroup.com. Again, I am Precious Williams, proud founder and CEO of the Perfect Pitch Group, slaying all competition with a killer pitch. Ow.
Listen, I'm so proud of you, Precious. I am so proud of you. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to come and join us and you came to stay a while. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Queen. I'm glad you stayed a while.
I hope you felt the love and connection in today's conversation. Every woman you heard from has faced the impossible and emerged stronger. This is your personal invitation to stay a while longer at TommiV.com. That's TOMMIV.com for more inspiration for your mind, body, and soul. And let's not forget your belly. You're always welcome at my table. Please be sure to subscribe, make yourself at home, and stay a while.